up, guys? I come to you, fixing my microphone already, with the most joyous of newses today. And to be quite frank with you, it's a victory that I'm kind of actually legitimately really shocked by. I was not expecting this, but I couldn't be more thrilled. And we're going to talk about it. So essentially, for everyone just tuning in, and we're gonna before we get really into it, I'm gonna of course wait for a little bit more of the audience to show up, just because that's the way we do things here. This was an impromptu live stream. I was not expecting to go live. I thought maybe I would go live a little bit later tonight, and I still may go live later tonight because I have a long night of finishing up my book ahead of me and making sure it looks all pretty, and I might want to take a break a little bit later. But we have some good news to share today, and that is that the Department of Education is retreating from a strategy in which they were going to bribe schools in order to implement critical race theory. And I am literally just finding out this news. I just got off a meeting with Joshua and I had all these tweets and all these notifications. It was like, oh my God. And I looked at it, I was like, well, we got to go live and we have to talk about what we think this means, because this is a big deal. This is a big deal. And this shows us just how much all of the videos at the school board meetings. Listen, so I was having a conversation earlier today about I don't know. Yeah, people are saying bribe. I'm going to explain to you what I mean by the word bribe. So I was having a conversation earlier today about the great porn debate of 2021. If you guys didn't catch my video today, it's like the stupidest thing that's ever happened, essentially. But so my contention, and it feels like I'm going to go on a tangent, but I'm going to bring it back to this topic real quick. But my contention with the great porn debate is essentially that, I do think we're going to see a moral majority part two, like a conservative Christian right, like getting more and more power. I think that is absolutely going to happen. And people are saying, well, Carlin, they're not the majority. The majority is the silent majority. And I say, exactly. The majority is the silent majority. And that's why the moral majority, part two, is actually has a lot of power, because they're not the ones being silent. They're the ones setting a vision. They're the ones that are actually talking. They're the ones that are out there. And when you express yourself, you win. And that's really the moral of the story with this. Like, the people that are expressing themselves, the people that are speaking up, the people that are making their voices heard, they're the ones that will win. It doesn't matter if they're the biggest group. They're the ones that will win because they are expressing themselves. And so we have kind of a negative thing, I think, that's going to happen, which is that I do believe there's going to be a moral majority part two on the right, in which the conservative Christians are the only ones expressing themselves, the only ones presenting a vision, and they're going to drag the entire right with them, and they're going to end up losing the culture war because of it. So that's a negative thing. But a positive example of this is all of those parents that spoke up at school board meetings, all those people who submitted comments to this, every single person that expressed themselves, whether it was a tweet from an anonymous account or something else, it doesn't really matter on what you do. The point of it is about the expression. At the end of the day, it is about the expression, is the act of saying what you think. And when you do that, then you're going to have a much better chance of winning. And this is why it always drives me so crazy when people say, well, we shouldn't bother, or like, it's just not worth it. They're going to rig everything anyway. And it's like, no, you speak up for the virtue of speaking up. That's why you do it. And I really do think that this retreat, that we're going to read this article and we're going to talk about what we think it means, I do believe that this is precisely because people spoke up. And it didn't need to be the majority of people who were speaking up. It just needs to be a very vocal minority that says, we are not going to take it anymore. That is why this happened, because people spoke up. So we're going to read this article and we are going to talk about it, but I'm going to pimp my locals first. Because, guys, the very best way that you can support the work I'm doing, right now I'm finishing up a book on how to fight back against the woke left in a variety of areas. Of course, critical race theory is part of it. It's not the only thing that's part of it, but I do have a lot of attention is paid to that. So I'm finishing up that book now. I'm really excited about it. It's not going to come out till next year because that's the way publishing works. But I do think that, my whole goal is to provide resources to people to fight back in a highly practical way because this is not the end of the fight. What we're talking about right now is not the end of the fight. It's just a big win in the fight. This is a battle that's been happening for 40 years now. We're not going to be able to fix it in an instant. But this is about changing the culture war. So I'm working on that. I do lots of stuff in my locals to help people speak up and fight back. We actually have 2 Zoom calls a week, which is and the express purpose of those Zoom calls is to give people a place to express themselves, to practice expressing themselves, to talk about things that they want to talk about. And so if you want to support the work that I'm doing, the very, very, very best way you can do it is by becoming a member of my locals community. Now, it is free to join. And actually, I'm going to do a promo code. I'm going to do a promo code for this week only to celebrate this win. If you join as a supporter, kb.locals.com/support, and use the promo code that I'll type in the chat, which is winning, all in capital letters. If you use that promo code right here, we'll even do an experiment real quick. Winning, apply that. That's going to give you 1 month of free subscription so you can get into locals. You can be part of our Zoom calls, be part of our debate club, be part of our Stitch and Bitch, stuff like that. And just try it out and see if it's for you. And if you don't like it, then you get a whole month in it. And then you can cancel at the end of that month. No harm, no foul. But if you know you really want to support what I do, you can also join with an annual membership, which will give you 2 months for free. But if you want to join for the monthly membership using the promo code winning, you have to do it this week. This is this week only. Okay, so if you've been putting off joining my locals, now is the time to do it with the winning promo code. You're going to support the work that I'm doing. You're going to hang out in my awesome community where it's like the most sane place on the internet. And I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, as long as everyone has mounted that like button, we can get started and read this article. But make sure you mount that like button just to let YouTube know that our little trolly white supremacist friends are not going to be winning the battle on this one, that we're going to win the battle and tell YouTube what content we like and what content we don't. Let's take a look at this article. Cardona retreats from making critical race theory part of new school grants. Now, did anyone oh, hey Dragon Water, thank you for the super chat. Good day, Carlin. I hope this win can be built upon. This win is a big deal, and I do hope it will be built upon as well. So was anyone that's here right now, did anyone see the chat I did with Deb Philman and Justice Graves? I want to say it was a couple months ago. Was anyone here for that live chat? And if you weren't here for that live chat, you should go back and watch it. It was with Deb Philman, who is awesome. She has this amazing YouTube channel called The Reason We Learn. Justice Graves is an amazing young man who actually got himself elected to the school committee in Massachusetts. Doesn't have any kids, but got himself elected to the school committee anyway on a platform of fighting critical race theory. Yeah, Adrian was there. It was a great conversation. And the reason I bring it up in the context of this is a lot of the conversation, Caleb was there too, I see. A lot of the conversation was about this program specifically. It was about the Biden administration making moves to provide grants to public schools on the condition that they were going to implement critical race theory. Now, one of the points that Deb made in that chat is that these schools don't really need that money. A lot of these schools have only used about 30% of the money that they were allotted during the COVID pandemic to deal with the pandemic. They do not have a shortage of money. But yet the Biden administration was going to provide them with additional grants, and like, what school is going to turn down money, right? They were going to provide them with additional grants on the express condition that they implement critical race theory in schools. And for me, like, when I heard this, I was like, that just made all of our jobs a whole lot harder. Like, the crux of the fight against critical race theory has been and always will be what is going on in the public schools. And I really should start calling the public schools government funded schools, because that's what they are. It is a state funded school that compels citizens to go and be indoctrinated for 12 years of their life into whatever the government wants to teach them. And the fact that the government was going to bribe, yeah, Justice was there. Justice was there for that chat. Justice was awesome in that chat. Um, but the express and Justice, please correct me if I'm getting anything wrong. Like you are more of an expert on this than I am. But like the fact that the government was bribing schools or was going to bribe schools to integrate a fringe political ideology into their curriculum should tell you all that you need to know about how problem to borrow a word, how problematic the public schools are in this equation. And now it seems as though they're backtracking on those bribes, and that is a really good thing. Let's see. Education. Oh, this happened. Oh, this happened on Friday. Okay. See, I was so distracted by Art Weekend that I didn't even know this happened. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona on Friday backed off from his proposal to create a new grant that was seen as encouraging the teaching of critical race theory and the 1619 project. Mr. Cardona's decision came after the department received more than 35,000 comments on the proposed grants, with most of the comments objecting to grants to promote teaching U.S. history through the prism of race and highlighting the impact of slavery. In a blog post, Mr. Cardona announced that the department would go forward with the creation of new federal grants, but the grants would not require classwork based on critical race theory or the 1619 project. Now, we all need to be careful about this. I want to see the fine print of those grants. I want to see the fine print because here is the thing. If a school, like most of what, okay, to back up, people make the mistake of believing that's what is going on in the schools is that the schools are, oh, excellent. Justice says I am correct. Excellent. I always like when Justice makes sure, like, blesses what I say, because then I know that I'm probably getting it right. So people make the mistake of believing that what is going on in the schools is that students are going in and teachers are going, white students are inferior to black students and you have to try to be less white. Now, like, I understand that happened to Coca-Cola. I get it. I get it. I'm the one that broke the damn story. But like, but that's just not what happens in the schools. What happens in the schools is very different. Luke Hazley says, thank you for sharing this. Thank you, Luke Hazley. I appreciate that. What typically happens in the schools is much more nefarious than that. Now, there are certainly examples that we can point to. We can point to Gabrielle Clark's case with her son William being forced to admit that he was an oppressor in high school, in order as a condition to graduate from high school. We can point to that as an example of something happening in the schools. But that is an extreme example of what's happening, right? Normally, it doesn't happen like that. Normally, it's like little nuggets that are dropped into the curriculum throughout their other courses of study that lead to them ultimately kind of like adopting this world view of, I mean, for lack of a better term, equity versus equality. And so one of the things that the schools can get away with this kind of stuff is precisely because they're not doing it as explicitly as people think it is. And so we have to be really careful to take a more nuanced look at what is going on in the schools, because if you are just going in and banning things like saying, white people are inferior to black people or something like that, like, you're not going to get the whole thing. And the thing of it is too, is most of what I have seen in terms of school curriculum comes from teaching one concept. It comes from teaching the concept that America is a fundamentally racist country. Now, if you look at a lot of the anti-CRT bills that have happened throughout the country, one thing that they almost always have in common is that they ban teaching that America is a fundamentally racist country. New Hampshire screwed this up because of my rhino governor, Chris Sununu, who threw the entire Republican Party of New Hampshire under the bus by sabotaging the bill, which the GOP doesn't like to talk about. But that was actually taken out of the bill in New Hampshire, which means that, like, nothing's really getting banned in terms of like how they're actually teaching it. So that's what we actually have to be the most careful of. We have to have a more nuanced discussion of this. This is also why, quite frankly, I hate the anti-white talk. I absolutely hate it. You guys know this. I've kicked the hornet's nest of actual white identitarians because I hate it so much. It gets to it completely misses the point of what is going on. It is so incredibly unhelpful precisely because of that. All right. Justice says he has the fine print on what's going on. So Justice, you and I are going to have a conversation offline, but let's continue with this article for right now. In the grant proposal, as an example of what should be taught to receive the grant, the department cited New York Times' 1619 project, which reframed U.S. history with slavery and racism as the centerpiece of the American experience. Mr. Cardonas said the grants, copy editor, were never dictated what should be taught. He said the grant would seek to improve the quality of U.S. history and civics lessons. Well, he would say that, wouldn't he? Dragonwater said, I would go with banning any education that dehumanizes people. Well, I mean, I agree with you at a high level, but then we get into the discussion of what is considered dehumanizing. And is it a case of like facts don't care about your feelings? Is it just like if someone feels dehumanized, are they dehumanized? You know? And guys, just to give you a heads up, I'm probably going to do call-ins in this live stream. So if you have a burning desire to come on the stream and talk to me and tell me what you think, I will probably be doing that once we're done reading the article, just for shits and giggles. I can't stay on all day today because I do actually have work to do. But I will probably be doing that once we're done the article, and that way you guys can come on and talk about what you think as well. All right, and that was a decision I made spur of the moment on the spot, so we'll see how that goes. This program, however, does not, and will not dictate or recommend specific curriculum be introduced or taught in classrooms, Mr. Cardona emphasized. Those decisions are and will continue to be made at the local level. Now, what he's betting on, of course, is that the local level will allow the teaching of critical race theory. So this is why this does not mean that we have to stop fighting. This means we need to keep fighting. We need to keep speaking up. We need to keep expressing ourselves. We need to keep doing all of the things that we should have been doing right from the beginning. But, better late than never, I suppose. But, one of the things that I really, I feel so strongly that people just need to be reminded that just because you have a win doesn't mean you stop speaking up. It doesn't mean you stop expressing yourself. Yeah, exactly. You have to keep the pressure on because the left is not going to give up. They're not. What they're going to do is they're going to start changing the definition of things. They're going to start changing what things are called. They're going to start trying to do it in different ways. They are not going to give up. Now, they may get quiet for a while. They may get quiet, but that doesn't mean they're giving up. Okay, so we need to keep the pressure on. We need to keep fighting back until we are sure we have beaten this ideology into the ground until it is dead as flipping dirt. All right, let's see. Representative Virginia Foxx of North Carolina, the top Republican on the Education Committee, said that thousands of protests had persuaded Mr. Cardona to change course. Let me be clear. The Department of Education changed its approach to grant funding because parents, students, and Republican leaders stood up in defense of our nation's history and legacy, she said in a statement. While I am doubtful that Secretary Cardona plans to abandon the administration's crusade to push critical race theory into schools, they're not going to abandon it at all. She is absolutely correct about that. I applaud the move not to give overt preferential treatment to federal grant applicants seeking to advance anti American agendas, she said. In the blog post, Mr. Cardona said the aims of the grants would be to improve the quality of American history, civics, and government education to provide more students the opportunity to learn about the rich history of our nation and build the skills needed to fully participate in civic life. The grant still encourages projects that incorporate racially, ethically. This is the fine print that Justice is going to provide us with, I think. The grants still encourages projects that incorporate racially, ethnically, culturally, and linguistically diverse perspectives into teaching and learning. What does that mean? What does that mean right there? Huh. And listen, I feel the need to make sure I'm extremely clear about this. I am not against diversity. I don't know that anyone here is against diversity. I just want to know what they mean by that because they use language to infer things that they don't actually mean. Mr. Cardona set off fierce criticism in April with the proposal of the grant that he said would promote in part teaching about slavery. Okay, okay, I want to do a poll in the chat. This is for people who went to school in America. I'm not opposed to people that went to school other places, but this is specifically for Americans at this point. If you live in America and you went to public school in America, type Y into the chat if you were taught about slavery in school, and type N into the chat if you were not taught about slavery in school. Okay, Y if you were taught about slavery, and if you were not. And as we're waiting for those to come in, I'll take this super chat from Luke Hazley. The left is relentless with their Marxist efforts, and that is the reason we must be 100 plus persistent about fighting these insane policies. Yes, yes, we need to want to win more than the left wants to win. Yeah, look at that chat full of whys. Everyone was taught about slavery in school. Everyone was taught that. Does anyone believe in the chat that slavery was a good thing? The answer is no. like exactly. Like who hasn't seen Ken Burns' Civil War? Exactly. Exactly. Mr. Cardona set off fierce criticism in April with the proposal of the grant that he said would promote in part teaching about slavery. There is a growing acknowledgement of the importance of including in the teaching and learning of our country's history both the consequences of slavery and the significant contributions of Black Americans to our society. Okay, I had to read Frederick Douglass in school. Like, I had to read Martin Luther King. I had to read so many Black authors in school. Why do they think that this stuff is not being taught? This acknowledgement is reflected, for example, in the New York Times landmark 1619 project and the resources of the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History. Amid the criticism, Mr. Cardona tried to back off from the idea that he was trying to dictate what schools teach. The department said it mentioned the 1619 project only to offer an example of what is envisioned. Dragonwater says, personally, I'm against diversity. Every time I see the word used and implemented, it is always about purging certain people. Well, no, 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 no. Dragonwater, you're not against diversity. I know you're not against diversity. We need to be very, very careful with our language. You're not against diversity. What you're against is the left hijacking diversity and making it mean something that it doesn't mean. Exactly. Harriet Tubman, Ralph Edison, Langston Hughes. I had to do okay. Like I bring this up because I grew up in Vermont, which is basically like the whitest state in the country. I went to an extremely small rural school in Vermont, which had like I had like 48 kids in my graduating class. We had to do a whole project about Langston Hughes and then recite a Langston Hughes poem in front of our parents at a recital. I really resent that. And again, I went to school in a very white neighborhood. So I have a hard time believing that my school was like the exception of exposure to this type of content. I just have a really hard time believing it. And I don't know why we're lying about that. It really bothers me when I see people on the right saying, well, we need to present an alternative. No, we don't. We just need to go back and teach history. Like, that's not to say you can't make improvements, but like it's not as though this information was never being taught. And I don't know why people are trying to like playstate people on in this whole affair, right? All right. The project won a Pulitzer Prize last year because the Pulitzer Prizes are rigged entirely and mean nothing at the end of the day, but became a flashpoint in the debate over racial justice, cancel culture, and what American children are taught about their country. Critics objected to the emphasis put on the role of slavery. No, like even the GD Washington Examiner doesn't get this right. Critics objected to the emphasis it put on the role of slavery in the nation's history and for historical inaccuracies. No, no one objected to the emphasis on slavery. They objected to the historical inaccuracies. I don't know. This is true. No one objected to teaching about the role of slavery in the nation's history. They objected to the historical inaccuracies. I'm getting so sick of people on the right being like cavalier about language. It's like you have to be more disciplined in this. One prominent inaccuracy, which was later retracted, was the claim that the founding fathers' prime motivation for fighting the American Revolution was the fear that Great Britain would end slavery. Yes, that is a historical inaccuracy of the 1619 Project. The teaching of schools in schools of critical race theory, which emphasizes the idea that Americans' laws and institutions discriminate against Black people and people of color, has ignited emotional protests around the country. Well, that's one thing that critical race theory does, but anyone who has heard me repeat the definition of critical race theory ad nauseum every single chance I get knows that that is not the entirety of what critical race theory is, but that is a different video for a different day. And I do actually have a video laying out the definition of critical race theory that all of you can use with your friends, with your family. Every time a leftist tells you that you don't know what critical race theory means, I've got you covered. There is a definition for that. So this is an epic win. To be really honest, there's no other way to put this than this is an epic win. This is a really, I mean, the fact that they received 35,000 comments, that shows you the power of leaving a comment. That shows you the power of sending an email. And it shows you the power of what expressing yourself can do when a lot of your friends are standing around you and expressing themselves too. DBZ, love your work and input. Please know you're a value member of the fight. Don't let the haters make you think Christians are against you. It's a deliberate ploy to discourage you. Local subscriber, double down D. Well, thank you, thank you, D. I appreciate that. Listen, I don't think that all Christians are bad by any stretch of the imagination. The haters that I'm dealing with right now aren't even goddamn Christians. They're the people in like the anti-woke fight, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. They care more about drama than they do about winning. And that is my biggest problem with them. It's like, I want as many people in this fight as possible. I don't care if I like you. I don't care if I hate you. I don't care if if I think you're an SJW, even though you claim to be a reformed SJW, Carrie Smith. I don't care about any of that. I care about you being in the fight and fighting harder against critical race theory than you are against me. That's what I care about. Yeah, I have no problem with most Christians. Most Christians are fine. Although, like Christians that go around saying really hateful things about people, they give all Christians a bad name, man. They do. If I was a Christian, I'd be so pissed about Christians running around giving me a bad name, you know? All right. Luke Hazley, thank you again for the super chat. It is interesting that schools do not provide readings by Thomas Sowell or Larry Elder or Glenn Lowry or John McWhorter. Well, they're the wrong kind of Black, aren't they? All right. So, guys, what we're going to do is call-ins for a little while. Now, if you have never been on my channel for a call-in, there are a couple rules about call-ins that we're going to go for. So what's going to happen is if you want to come on my stream and just have a quick 5-minute conversation, I'm going to put a link in the chat, which you can use to join the stream, and you can come on video or not come on video, but you do have to you have to have a way to talk. You have to have audio, right? So we're going to do that. I'm going to put a link in the chat. People are going to be coming to the stream. You're going to come in the order in which you come in. Like, it's just like I see an order of the number of people who joined, and we're just going to go until, I actually have to go do work. So maybe we'll do it for a half hour, maybe an hour, just depending on, yeah, it's not going to go any more than an hour, but maybe more like a half hour, just to try to get some people in. Britt, thank you for the super chat, throwing out my weekly donation before I have to run off. Keep being you. Thank you, Britt, and thank you for all of the work that you're doing, and you know that I know what you mean. Now, there are a couple rules for call-ins. Okay, we have to have some ground rules. Number one, when I do not know who's going to call in. You could be someone on the right. You could be someone on the left. You could be someone that likes me. You could be someone that hates me. I do not know who is calling in. So the first rule is that you are invited on the stream as a guest. I reserve the right to boot your ass out at any time for any reason. It is purely at my discretion. Number two, if you are polite, you will have a significantly lower chance of being booted out of the stream at any given moment. So just be polite. Even if you hate me, it is perfectly fine to hate me. Just be polite. Number 3, each caller who follows the first 2 rules will get roughly 5 minutes unless we're having a really interesting conversation, and then it will be extended at my discretion. But I do want to keep them short to the point. We're not going to go all day. Like I said, I do have to actually do some work. So we're going to see. All right. So I'm going to put a link into the stream right or into chat right now. And this is how you join for calls. Richard asks, can I bring mayo? No, no mayo allowed. No mayo allowed on the call-in. But just follow that link to join, and I will pin the link to the top of the stream. And that's how you can join, and we'll do some call-ins, because I like doing call-ins. And we're going to see how it goes. And we're going to just take them in order that they come. And our first caller today is one of my favorites. Janice Steele.
Hello.
Hello, Janice. How are you?
I'm alive and well. No social justice hair yet. I haven't gotten the hair bleach. But the good news is that I'll only have to suffer through sensory hell for a half hour.
Excellent.
And that is about the amount of time I need to not drink after brushing my teeth to allow the fluoride to set in and kill all the evil bacteria with zero prejudice.
Exactly, of course, because we don't want to have any prejudice, right?
Exactly. No prejudice.
Exactly. What's going on today?
Yeah, so last weekend, as you may know, because I spammed your inbox with animal pictures, because that's one of my things, and I have a cat persona type thing that I do. We had an art sale. I got to meet a pit bull.
You got to meet a pit bull? Oh,
I got to meet a pit bull. Carrie and I had our art sale, but we didn't sell anything because everyone was flat broke.
Mm-hmm. That's all right. It happens sometimes, right?
Yeah, no, it happens a lot to me, so I'm used to it. I got to hang out with a whole bunch of animals. I did some computer work. I'm still working on the laptop. She said I could take it back with me. I'm probably going to part it out. So if anyone wants a CPU and a stick of RAM that I think still work, I'm not able to test it, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
But about critical race theory and how are they going to handle people in special ed with this?
I mean, that's a really good question. I actually haven't seen, as of yet, have not seen any critical race theory curriculum associated with special education. But of course, we know that doesn't necessarily mean it's happening. But it seems to be one of those things that they could actually get really nefarious about it, couldn't they?
Yeah. Oh, I know that because as you may well know, and anyone else who's on the thing right now probably knows, I was in special education HE double toothpicks. I know, well, and I worked as a PCA. So I actually had the equivalent of, in one evening, because I did a mountain's worth of paperwork, I'm not even kidding you, to be a PCA, you have to do a lot of the same paperwork to be a paraprofessional. And I do actually want to be a paraprofessional. I want to work with autistic preteens and teens because I have been through it. It is hell.
Mm-hmm.
On top of, I know what it's probably like for neurotypicals, but imagine your brain being different.
Yeah. And do you support cameras in classrooms?
Yes.
Not Matt Walsh's bastardized version of cameras in classrooms, of course.
No, I support it because I read articles all the time about people on the spectrum that can't talk, that are abused by their teachers, and that just gets my blood boiling. And I don't mean to get all social justice-y, but
No, it's true. I mean, it's true. Like one of the groups of people that I talked to when I was vetting the cameras in classrooms idea that Matt Walsh then stole my talking points for was I actually talked to a lot of parents of special needs children, and they are completely in favor of it.
I was begging you
for like different reasons, but they're completely 100% in favor of it, and they think it's a great idea because
because what if your kid can't communicate with you?
Right, exactly.
What if it was like me when I was 3-4 years old and I couldn't talk, and there was one really abusive POS that slipped through the cracks and that was hurting me and my other classmates, and you had zero evidence, and the school just brushed it, under the rug like they did when I was in middle school. And, my classmates were actually being abused.
And it kind of sucks, to be honest, because it was the parents of special needs children that had this idea before any of us had this idea. And they couldn't get tracked. Oh yeah, a lot of people told me that, and which is
I didn't mean to jump down your throat. Down your throat. I'm just very passionate about it.
But the thing is, like, I already knew that because I had already been talking to those groups because I wanted to work out like the work that they had already done, because like if someone else has done the work,
that's why I was begging you to call me. That's why I
No,
was thinking.
no. Well, no, I mean, and definitely like you and I can always communicate, and you know that. But no, it is very true, and I think
Yeah, but
that
at a time I couldn't communicate. What if I had been taken advantage of? I mean, I don't mean to be self-centered. See, here's the thing. Let me teach a little bit of etymology real quick
Okay,
before you toss me out the door. I know you.
that's
I
okay.
get it. You have other things to do. I'm usually doing 20 things at once while I'm talking to you. By the way, but let me teach you a little etymology, everybody. Autism has the word auto in it, which means self, like an automobile, a car that can go by itself. Well, it doesn't go by itself, but that's the literal meaning. I'm not selfish or self-centered. I evaluate the world from how something affects me, like critical
Mhm.
race theory. And I know you're sick to death of critical race theory. You are acting like people who are sick of hearing me talk about him.
What I don't know. I'm not sick to death of critical race theory. I'm just writing a book about it, so it's like it's I can only think about it so many hours in the day. You
Oh
know what
yeah,
I'm
you're
saying?
not like me.
Well,
You
like
can't.
believe me, once I am wrapping up this book this week and the manuscript is sent off to the publisher, I'm going to be talking a lot
Yeah,
more
there's
about it.
another
I
word.
can only just like
Manuscript. Manuscript. There's another word. Handwritten. Greek and Latin root words.
exactly.
Why aren't we teaching any of that stuff in school?
We're certainly not teaching handwriting anymore, are we?
No, no, we're not. And
No.
good luck with your book, by the way.
Thank you.
So I hope to come on when I finally have my hair dyed
Okay, well we'll look
or
forward to
my hair
seeing.
bleached. We'll
Well,
do it in stages. My hair bleached and then my hair dyed, and everyone will break some champagne for me. And well, my dad told me. My dad says, "Hey, that's not." I told him I've always done things for social justice and activism before it became what it is today. And
mhm.
he's like, "Son, that ain't social justice. That's being a good citizen." I I died laughing. I lost the ability to inhale correctly. I laughed so hard.
well,
It
your
all
dad.
started when I was put in youth and government by my speech teacher in 8th grade.
Well, your dad sounds like a smart guy, Janice, and we'll look forward to seeing your bleached hair and your social justice hair at some point in the future. All
I
right?
hope that doesn't offend you. And I just get shit
No,
stuck in my head. Anyone
don't
with autistic kids knows what I'm talking about.
don't worry about it. But we're gonna move on for
All
today.
right.
But thank
All
you as
right. It's
always
been
for
real. It's been
joining.
real. Much
All
love,
right,
Carlin.
talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Looks like we got a couple callers in the stream in the queue for right now. If you want to come on and do a call in, the link to join is at the top of the stream. Alexandra Martin says, "Celebratory super chat. Keep kicking ass, Dr. K. You are a true American hero. Peeps, mount that like button harder than ever. This is awesome news. Yes, mount that like button very, very, very hard. All right. Let's see. Miguel, you're up. Miguel, what's up?
Hi, I'm Mike from Maine. I just was calling in
Ah,
to tell you. Can you hear me?
yeah, you're good.
Okay, yeah, I was just calling to tell you I love everything you do. From Maine, and we learned all the same stuff. Kind of, New England person. So I just was calling to say good energy. I feel like you should have a lot more traffic to your website than you actually get
Oh.
because of rhythmic throttling and all that stuff. But I follow you pretty like daily. Sometimes I, go away for a few weeks and then come back. But yeah,
Mhm.
everything you're spot on with so much. And it's just, you just have such good energy. And yeah, I'm 38 years old. So, but the school I went to was kind of like, it was just like a universal thing that, I thought all schools in America kind of had the same curriculum as far as
Mhm.
like, like rights, human rights, and, things like that. And yeah, I'm glad you're doing a book. And I don't know, I just wanted to pop in real quick and it's cool to talk to you. I don't really have a lot
Yeah.
to say.
Well,
Uh,
thank you for that. I love Maine. Maine is one of my favorite places in the world. Like the energy in Maine is just different, right? It's
for
so
sure.
good.
We
It's so
got like,
good.
the cold climate and in the summer it's nice. And but yeah, anyways,
Well, I
I'll let you.
appreciate that. I appreciate it, and thank you for stopping by.
Yeah.
All right.
Peace.
Have a good day. Bye. All right. Let's see. Got a few people coming in. The next one we're going to go to is Christian.
Hello, are you able to hear me properly?
Yes, I can. What's up?
I would like to ask something as a student of Armenian descent, because
Okay.
I grew up in Canada. I'm from Armenia originally.
Sure.
I am like the only student in my class actually of Caucasian descent, and I used to get told all the time that I'm not. I am not Caucasian. I am Middle Eastern. So,
Okay.
what exactly you mean when you say you still Caucasian?
I don't ever actually refer to, well, I mean, it is actually very rare that I would refer to myself as Caucasian, to be honest.
Because like Armenia, that is like that's located in the Caucasus, right?
Yeah.
And I used to get like yelled at by teachers all the time because I'm being told that I'm not Caucasian and that I'm Islamic and all that, and I'm told that I have to identify with this kind of identity, and it's like,
Well,
no, I'm not. I'm not Islamic. I'm a Christian. I was actually like Christian isn't my original name, but I changed it when I was younger, when I
mhm.
moved to Canada.
Well, what I would say is that, listen, and I think this is an important lesson for everybody, is that no one gets to define you. No one gets to tell you how to identify or how you should think or how you should feel about yourself. I mean, they can express an opinion, and then
Hmm.
you can also express an opinion that they're wrong. And a lot of people are going to try to define you to get you to fit into whatever box they want you to fit into, and you always have the freedom to reject that.
And like when I tell people that I don't like it when they use white, that like when they use the term Caucasian to me, I don't mean like I hate it, but I mean like I get it confused
Mhm.
because I happen to come from that region,
Mhm.
and it's like okay, it would be like calling an Irish person English. It's the same kind of thing. Like the Caucasus is not even Europe, so why would you call European people Caucasian?
Yeah. I mean, I agree, and like I said, like I very rarely will refer to myself as that. I mean, if anything, I'm gonna say that I'm a pasty white girl that maybe has French and Irish descent, but that's about it. And again, you are under no obligation to buy into the labels that other people want to put on you. I mean, in some cases, it's just easier to go along with it than others. Like if you have a teacher and they're responsible for giving you a grade or something, and you're like, okay, I don't want to rock the boat, whatever, it's fine. Like sometimes it's just the path of least resistance to say, fine, I'll call myself whatever you want as long as you're going to give me my A, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes you might want to fight that battle and sometimes you don't. But, internally, like screw what other people think. Call yourself whatever you want, refer to yourself as whatever you want, identify however you want. It's your life, it's your perspective. That's all that matters.
And that's the thing, because people, and this kind of ties into the idea of telling someone what identities or what labels they have to accept based on on the other person's perception of a race. Like how they would say, "Oh, if you are of African descent, you must be a victim of things." So
Hmm.
you, it's like they want you to accept their label because they want to use it to give themselves power. They get the power out of it.
That's exactly correct. So, you're on the right track. You know that it's like, I find that most people can sniff out BS when they see it. And so, you're on the right track. And I completely agree with your approach.
Yes, and before I go, I want to say I've enjoyed your videos so much. I found out about you because when I visited US, I actually visited the same hotel as you did. So I found out about your experience and I actually cried when I saw your video.
The Ingleside Hotel?
Yeah, I've been there and
Oh,
I know about it. I know all about it.
okay. Can you confirm that there are children running up and down the halls screaming all the time? Can you please confirm that for
Yeah,
me?
for sure.
And anyone who says they're not are lying.
My girlfriend, because we had to get up real early in the morning for a flight because we had to fly out at I think it was like 5:30 in the morning. We could not get any damn sleep. We
Right.
couldn't.
It's so
and
noisy.
and like when I found that they kicked you out, I'm like, What? What are they thinking?"
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was crazy. And it's like I still have people today attacking me over that, like saying currently it's like, you know what? No, that hotel is not a good hotel. I'm sorry. That hotel is not good. It is not run by good people. I didn't sue their asses like I probably should have, because I didn't want to deal with it. But it's like, I feel very like I feel very blessed that you have just corroborated that that hotel is noisy as heck.
If anybody tells you, tell them to talk to Christian Manassian. Right now, I'm in Canada, but we had gone down to the United States for a Pokemon convention because I'm a big
Mhm.
fan of Pokemon. So we had
Well,
gone to a convention, and we were because we just drove over the border into Wisconsin, and
mhm.
then we were gonna fly out to San Diego from Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we did.
Well, I hope you stayed in a much nicer hotel in San Diego than you did in Milwaukee.
We did. It was full of Pokemon fans, and actually a couple. I met a couple voice actors from Pokemon.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yep,
Well,
I met Rachel Lillis and Anika Moriarty.
that's amazing. Well, thank you, Christian, for calling in and telling your story, and I'm glad we got a chance to chat.
No problem. Say hi to Victor for me, a fellow Soviet.
Oh, I will absolutely say hello to him. Thank you for that. All right.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, I love it when call-ins go well and people are nice to me. Okay, we have 3 more in the queue for right now. And we'll see if any more people call in, but I'm at least going to do these 3, and I want to tell you guys the order in which they're coming so you can be prepared. First, we're going to do Double Down D, then we're going to do Joshua, and then we're going to do Cake O. And if you want to call in, the link is pinned to the top of the chat. And let's see what Double Down D has to say. Hi, Double Down D. You looks like a beautiful day out there.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's so nice to talk to you, girl.
Yeah, nice to talk to you.
I'm here on the West Coast at the ocean in Oregon.
Oh, you're in Oregon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Portland's giving us a bad libertarian rep. I just wanted to call in to encourage you and to let you know it's a good fight, and we love you out here. There's a lot of us not so crazy people in Oregon. There's a lot of us small town people, and I'm a 28-year walk away. Brandon Strzok got me into that years ago. 2000?
Well, I know he didn't get you into it 28 years ago, because that would make him really much older than I'm sure he's comfortable with being.
No, I didn't vote for Trump. I thought he was a POS. I was not inclined to vote for him. And I thought our country was doomed. Not that I was a Hillary supporter. But oh, pardon me.
That's all right.
Little nervous getting on camera here. But I just wanted to let you know that, there's a lot of us walkaways, and there's a lot of us liberals. I think I am kind of libertarian when I took my political test. And I just had to walk away from the intolerance. And I'm hoping that the Republican Party can embrace all people who believe in small government and personal responsibility, because that's, we do have a moral social responsibility to everybody, right? And I just wanted to let you know, I think you're doing a great job. I mean, really great job. And you and I are not going to agree 100%, but that's what's great. We don't have to.
It wouldn't be fun if we all agreed all the time. Think about all the great discussions we would never be able to have.
Exactly. And I just wanted to, keep letting you know that there's a lot of us out there that are supporting you, that even if we're in a crazy state, I can't believe Oregon was ever on the map. I mean, I used to live in Portland 20 years ago.
I used to love Portland. I was actually having this conversation with someone over the weekend. It's like, I feel like I would not even be able to go to Portland or Seattle now unless I was doing something with Walkaway and we had security. Like, I wouldn't even be able to go. And that makes me so sad, because I love both of those cities. Like, they're really good cities.
Oh yeah. I moved up there when I was 15. I got my first job. My sister's part of the LGBT community, and she was still love her to death. She's my older sister of 9 years, and I was introduced to the community, although be it I'm from a Christian conservative family. Well, that was in the 80s, so it was kind of like weird, but I was mad, but not because she was gay, but just because she was mean.
Right.
But no, I totally grew up accepting, and I just don't give a shot of what adult people want to do with their lives. I am just a little concerned when it comes to children and protecting innocence and children, and that right now in Oregon, I'm not sure about the school system, but I am not. I might be pulling my children out because I haven't learned about the educational system here. But my 10-year-old granddaughter and my 5-year-old grandson, whom me and my husband adopted, I'm really worried about what they're talking to our kids about. And for me, social responsibility is on me. Religious, social, all that is on me. You know, school is about reading, writing, arithmetic, history, and I'm just really concerned. Oregon, since the mail-in voting in the 1991, I believe, mail-in voting became, we were the first state. Is New Hampshire the try-me state?
No, we're live free or die.
Yeah, Oregon's the try-me state.
I don't know exactly what like. So I don't know. I don't know what the state like thing is. I have to probably look that up. I always just say
Well,
live free
they're
or die. That's like the
they're
motto.
well,
Like
we're
Vermont is the Green
very
Mountain State.
very libertarian in the Constitution. We
Yeah.
had open carry, but this we have a super Democrat party right now, a delegation, it's crazy.
Yeah.
They're, you know, I'm in a town of less than 30,000 people, and they want to lock us down
It's
with
so
with
insane.
one COVID case. One.
It's
They'll
so
try to
crazy.
lock us down.
Well, I guess
And
California has reinstituted mask mandates, which is like can we just have nice things? Like can we
right?
all just calm down? If you want to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. It is now
Yeah.
available to everyone. Like everyone needs to calm down.
Well,
Granite
like,
State. Thank you, Blue Dragon. I couldn't say it. Sorry. Granite State. That's what
It's
we
all
are.
good. It's all good. Yeah. But I mean, for me, I mean, I'm seriously considering it, the vaccination in 2 to 3 years, you know, after
Yeah.
the human trials are over. But we're healthy individuals. I'm a bit overweight, but
Yeah.
99% survival rate. I just think, you know, we do have this thing called an immune system. And my doctor, who is actually a gender specialist, I mean, my children's doctor is a gender specialist here, the only one in town. And she told us that, you know, COVID's a serious thing, but to wait for our children.
Yeah.
And
There's no reason for kids to have insofar as like, in my non-medical opinion, I don't understand it.
Well, I mean, that was our doctor's opinion, and saying that, you know, your immune system is a wonderful thing. But no, I'm sorry, I don't mean to ramble about stuff, but
That's okay. That's okay.
Lots of points. First time I got to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're wonderful. I think you have wonderful points and a great position, and you have a wonderful outreach. And I've seen that you've gotten a little depressed the past few weeks, and I just wanted to call and say I love you. And I mean, not personal. I love you as a thinker,
I understand.
as an orator, as another woman, and I think you are doing a really important work. And you know, every time you get down, just know that there's people like me out there rooting for you, girl. And you've got it. I mean, if you can do it in New Hampshire, I've got a lot of family there, by the way, in Concord.
Oh, okay. I live a little south of Concord, but yeah,
really?
I do. I live about probably half hour away from Concord.
Oh, nice. My mom was born and raised in Concord.
Oh, wow.
And lots of family there. Lots of family there still. And I just want to let you know, if you can do it in New Hampshire, I hope you can. Besides your governor.
Yeah, F him.
And I'm dealing with Governor Brown. She's not even liberal. She's so far left. My husband's a Democrat still, even though I tried to convince him to switch parties. But, we both voted for Trump in 2020. Wow. And we're both liberal. But I just felt like the Republican Party needed more representation here in Oregon. So I joined them instead of going independent, just as a boost to the party. I'm not a party voter.
I understand.
You
I
know.
understand completely. Just don't get sucked into GOP nonsense, and
Oh,
keep an open mind, and you're
yeah.
gonna be okay.
Heck no. I think those old school
Mhm.
elitists need to be voted out, and people that are more populist. And I'm an economic nationalist.
Mhm.
I love my country. I love all of you, my fellow Americans. And I just think that, as a people, we need to pull together, and parents and non-parents need to pull together for the sake of our children. And thanks so much for listening to me, Carolyn. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Double Down D. I really appreciate the comments, and thank you for your support. And yeah, let's keep going, right?
Heck yeah.
All right.
We got it.
We got it. Well, thank you for joining for Collins, and I hope to chat again soon. Okay.
Absolutely. You take care, girl.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So we've had a couple more join. We're gonna do Joshua, Cake O, Zipidus, and then we'll do Bryce. And so I'm gonna do a last call for call-ins. If you want to join to have a call-in on the stream, now is the time to join, because after this next one or so, I'm probably gonna take the link down because I got stuff to do. All right, Joshua, welcome to the stream. Joshua looks like still loading for some reason. Oh, Joshua, if you can hear me, I can't. It looks like you're still loading and spinning. It looked like it was gonna work. Okay, Joshua, I'm gonna remove you from the stream for right now, but I'll keep you in the studio, and hopefully we can get this worked out, and maybe you can leave and rejoin to see if we can get the technology worked out. But I hope we're able to do our phone call. So next up, we will do Cake O. Hello.
Hi, I was so hoping that I'd have more time to relax. How are you doing?
Fine. Good. How are you?
I'm
We have
good.
the same hair.
Yeah, I actually just took it out of a ponytail. It's slightly wet, and so it's curling up right now. This is all natural.
It looks great. It looks great. What's going on today?
Pretty good. I would like to reiterate that us Christians are very much embarrassed by those people who are like, I hate you, I hate this, and I'm like, oh, please stop.
Like, why do you have Christian in your profile?
Yeah, so some of the things that I actually started mainly watching you is a lot of because of like how closely you work with schools and workplaces and things like that. And also I can stand the sound of your voice. I'm going to be honest, a lot of people's voices on YouTube kind of irk me, and you have that actually like soft, general, inviting tone.
Oh, thank you. I don't always feel soft and generous and inviting, so I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah, but yeah, like I'm weird that way. But
okay.
Like a lot of these school things, it annoys me that some of these things are happening, and with people fighting against cameras. Yet, one of my professions that I used to be, and I am still going back and forth on, is I was a full-time nanny. I nanny a lot, and so I get to take care of these kids. I help them out and everything, and a lot of times it falls apart because the parents are being dumb. And one of my most recent jobs, they asked me if it was okay if I was on a nanny cam. And I was like, yes, I want you to make sure I'm doing right by you. And I think it's ridiculous. If teachers are really fighting against cameras, then they're hiding something. They are not doing right by the parents. They're not doing right by the children by refusing to allow people to look in the classroom. That, like, if it is, honestly, it's public school, it's, as you said, government funded schooling, parents should have access to be able to look into the classroom. Like, and with how the school boards and everything is going, and critical race theory too, it's scaring me to the point where, like, I don't ever want to send my kids to school. I want to homeschool them. And I wish I had the money for it. I had like so many ideas. I'm like, man, if only I could make my own like private academy to take in all these people that really could use this education. And in my opinion, the public education is to teach you how to be an adult. Like, I never learned how to do taxes. And while people might argue, like, oh, but your parents should teach you. What if they don't know how to do it?
Yeah, like my parents knew how to do taxes.
Sorry if I get loud.
That's okay.
But yeah, like, what if they don't know how to do that? And I know, like, several people I've talked to, they're constantly getting help from outside sources like H&R Block and stuff like that. Don't mean to name drop things, but I mean, I use them. They're awesome. Sometimes.
Oh, I do too. I love H&R Block. H&R Block is like a lifesaver.
Yes, it makes it so easy.
You get all those deductions.
Yeah, like I'm constantly asking my father, like when I first started being an adult, I was just like, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. The most that school has ever taught me was, here's how you write a check.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We don't use checks very much often. I mean, sometimes it can be useful.
Right.
But
I don't even know where my I do actually have a checkbook still, but I don't even know where it is half the time. It's awful. It's really bad because we don't need them anymore. We just don't. I mean, it's like, why? But
sorry, I'm having earbud issues.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I just want to say, like, you know, thanks for joining. And like, so I mean, like, I think one of the things that's good about homeschooling now is I think it's gonna, you know, it's getting out of the realm of like you only homeschool if you're a religious conservative and, you know, have a family with 18 kids. And I know that wasn't always the case, but like, you know, that's kind of the perception a lot of people have. And I think that homeschooling, I think we're gonna see a renaissance of homeschooling. I think we're going to see a lot of like businesses popping up to support it. Deb Philman has a great website and locals that really talks about homeschooling and helps people to homeschool. And there are just so many parents looking into it now that I think it's going to become much more easier for parents to homeschool their children. And thank God for that. And, you know, to echo your thoughts about like, you know, the good teachers want to be filmed. That's 100% true. I talked to so many teachers that were like, yes, we 100% support cameras in classrooms. We're not hiding anything. We want parents to be able to see. And, you know, they even see it as a way to like, if kids are sick, like, you know, they have the recording of the class. They don't need to miss their class. Like there's actually a lot of things. It's not just a punitive thing, right? It could actually be really useful for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, like there's just like so many things. And not even just that, like more and more lately, like I've been talking to some of my friends too, and they talk about how, and a lot of my older friends, I hang out with old people. I act like a grandma half the time. And they would talk about how things like home economics is being slowly weeded out, like basic things that people need to learn that when in college they have no idea how to do. I've also worked as a custodian at a college inside the freshman dorms. They have no idea how to clean up after themselves.
Right. No idea.
And I've also learned that girls are a whole heck of a lot more dirtier than guys. Just
in different ways. I agree. I think they're dirty in different ways than guys are dirty.
The guys tend to be more dirty in private. Because these dorms had communal bathrooms, at which I would have to spray down and get rid of the gunk and everything. Girls are very publicly dirty. I don't know why.
It's gross. I agree with you. I concur with your assessment.
It's ridiculous. But yeah.
Well, all right. Well, I need to move on for today. But any final thoughts?
Just keep fighting. Like the worst thing that we can do is be complacent in, even if we succeed in what we try, they're going to keep trying. They're going to try to go under the belt again. And so we can't be complacent.
That is 100% correct. We've got to keep the pressure on. We've got to keep fighting. Even if we think we've won, we still need to keep the pressure on because this is a battle we ain't winning anytime soon. Not decisively. This is going to go on for a generation. And the only way we win is that we don't give up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining, Keiko. I hope to talk to you again in a future call-in.
Sure.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Cool. All right. Well, I do see a whole bunch of call-ins joining the stream. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick rundown of the order that we're going to go in. It's going to be Zipidus, Bryce, Chris, Dragonwater, Tony, and then Brittany, which is a lot of call-ins. And I've taken the link off of the stream at this point, so I don't want to add any more to it. Simply because I need to do stuff. All right. DBZ says, "Hey, Carlin B, can you please repeat the person who helps with the questions about homeschooling? Thank you, Double Down D." Yeah, her name is Deb Philman. and she runs a wonderful YouTube channel called The Reason We Learn, and she also has a locals community of the same name in which she helps people to homeschool their kids, and she's wonderful. She's so smart. Like, if you are not following anyone other, I mean, I know a lot of you guys follow everyone else other than, like, you guys all follow more people than I do, but make sure you're following Deb Philman. She is amazing. I like anime and real life feats. Interesting name. Banning porn is the stupidest thing the Christian conservatives. It's one of many stupid things. And again, I like most Christians. I do. Most Christians are great, wonderful, beautiful, lovely people. And then there are the stupid Christians that make everyone else look bad and usually tend to be the loudest. All right. Zipidus. Hey, good to see you again.
Hey, yeah, it was your first caller ever. I still remember.
Yeah.
How are you, doctor?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I just got a new job, so.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Hope they're not teaching any critical race theory.
Actually, they're not teaching critical race theory
Excellent.
there. But I do want to talk a little bit about public schooling and stuff like that, if you're okay.
Let's do it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like, I understand that homeschooling options and private school options are good options. Like, I don't have anything against the other options, but I do think, like, public schooling, we always hear the worst case scenario, right? In the media, we always hear like the crazy indoctrination methods or the crazy, like,
that's true.
Go out there. Like, a lot of this I've noticed since I've been in the education field is it's usually like, let's say a staff of 200 people. It's probably 10. It's probably 10 people that are actively, adamantly pushing this type of like heavy CRT or heavy diversity initiative, which diversity initiatives are not entirely bad. It's just like CRT's versions.
Exactly.
Very difficult. But I think public school is an option still. It's just be aware of what your school is, be aware of who the administration is, be communicative with them. And if they don't want to, I would probably fight for school of choice if you don't have school of choice in your state. And read up on laws and read up on CRT, I think, is like the things you should do when it comes to public schools, because if you do end up with a school that has very authoritative people on the Board of Education or wherever, they will try to like low blow you and pretend like you don't have a space. They'll pretend like you don't have a say. If it's a public school and you're a teacher and you have a student, you're gonna have a say. That's just all there is to it. But the other thing is too is like, get active with the teachers. Don't annoy them, but get active with the teachers. Because one thing I've noticed is like, it really is only like 10 out of 200 people that's causing all the issues. And when you communicate with all the teachers about it, they start talking. And when they start talking, they start understanding that, oh, I'm for diversity and I'm for this stuff, but I keep getting complaints about this specific stuff. And once they keep questioning it, these very minute bullies that are in these public schools, they're the biggest people on the block when nobody's questioning them. But the second you start attacking them, they back down. They're cowards. And that's kind of what's been happening at like the school I went for education at. Like, the second this stuff started coming out, they just immediately backed out. They pretty much got rid of all of CRT. So
yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think that you know, the majority of people are probably, well, okay, I'm gonna qualify this. I think that there are the people who are the loudest and the most staunch proponents of CRT are a very small percentage of the overall population. However, I do think that a lot of people are unknowingly teaching the concepts of CRT just because they don't realize where it's coming from. Yeah. And I think that that population can be just as problematic, sometimes if not more so, because they are more covert. And so there may not be bad intention, there may not be malice, but the reality is that like we're in a situation where a lot of teachers have just gone through teacher education programs in which they've been taught this stuff as part of their teacher education. So it's one of those things, it's like, yeah, exactly. Like if you don't know any differently, you don't know any differently. And of course you're going to defend it to the death and say, I'm doing the right thing because that's all you were taught. And so I don't necessarily put as much blame on the people that are being brought along with it, but I do wish that people, and you've obviously done this. I wish people would exercise more critical thinking about the concepts that they're teaching and what the logical end result of that is. And I understand as well as anyone why people don't exercise that critical thinking, frankly, because it is much easier to live life without doing it. And so I understand that that's a difficult process to go to. I just wish that I guess what I hope is going to happen from all of this is that more teachers will think about what they're teaching and why they're teaching it.
Yeah, that's kind of what that was kind of going to be my second point. So I'm glad you did that. It's like, yeah, most teachers are literally not aware of what
Yeah.
they're doing. And the thing is they hear it almost like the average person does. They see it on CNN or Fox or whatever, and whatever it is, that's like their extremist view of CRT and stuff like that. But this is why I think you should read up on CRT before you do have these conversations, though, because like if you say the wrong things, it can go drastically wrong. You
Yes.
can make those people commit to it very harshly if you
Like
say
if
the
you
wrong
call
things.
it anti-white.
Something like that. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's anti-human. It's an anti-liberal, anti-enlightenment principle, horrible teaching process. And I mean, I was taught it for almost 4 years for teaching education. But when you get people talking, especially like people that younger people are a little staunch into it, but sometimes you get into like the people that are in their 30s or early 30s and older. You just talk to them about it. You tell them why it's anti-liberal. You tell them why it's anti-human. Try to make sure that it's against everyone, because it is against everyone, and try to show them that it doesn't qualify even under their own definitions, even under their own requirements, and be as calm and collected about it and listen to what they're saying as possible. Because if you do keep that conversation up, then you can get into like the deeper stuff. If you got their attention, then you can probably start teaching like why it's anti-liberal principles and stuff like that. Because, a lot of these students are being taught that it's like diversity, equity, inclusion. Like that's it.
Right.
Like, and then they go through 4 years of it being called diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're like, I don't teach CRT. I teach diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's like it's the same thing using different words, so it doesn't call itself CRT. Like it's that type of stuff.
That's exactly right. And they're going to change the name of it again. I mean, they're already trying to. They're trying to call it culturally responsive teaching, which I think is a little too close to CRT for that to actually stick. But they're going to try to change the name of it to something else. But no, I agree with you. I think that how you have these conversations with people is important, and this is why I'm trying to be like a lot more responsible about the language and making sure people really understand why. And I saw a comment in the chat. Actually, I'll even bring it up. Like people, they like, weren't you promoting CRT a month ago? No, I was promoting irresponsible language use when you're having these conversations so that we can defeat CRT. Because really, if you can't meet people where they're at, like the whole thing is lost. And I really think like part of this battle is waking up more people that are kind of aligned with this ideology, like, but doing it from a more passive place where they aren't actually thinking about what it means.
Yeah. And it's way more common that it's that than it is the radical, crazy activist type. Like the crazy radical activist type is usually in some sort of leadership position, but usually most of I would say probably 75% of the people that teach this stuff that somewhat know what it is really don't know what it is at all. They just went through the teacher's education training, which is already very busy and very rigorous, and then they just kind of stacked it in there. So.
I agree with you. We're on the same page. Well, thank you for calling in, Zipidus. It's a pleasure as always.
Yeah, nice to see you again, Doctor. I'll see you.
All right, see you. Have a good day. Oh, I kicked him up before he said goodbye. I'm sorry. I'm a horrible person. All right, guys, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more callers in the queue. We have Bryce, Chris, Dragonwater, Tony, and Brittany in that order. I'm just going to do a couple super chats real quick. I love anime and real life feet. Again, the name. Okay, I mean, it's your screen name. The Groypers, Zoomers, and Christian conservatives made me no longer a conservative. I think that we need to be careful about that. Like, you have to think about what your values are and where that aligns. Don't like, see, because like I was never a conservative. right? And so for me to leave the Republicans after like a month and a half, like I was never a conservative. And so that wasn't that like I wasn't abandoning my values for that. I felt like I was following my values with that. And frankly, the libertarians are much more aligned with my values. And if the Republicans are going to be crazy and act insane, like I'm not gonna go along with that, even though I do believe they actually do have the potential to be a big tent if they want to be. But make sure you're aligning with your values. Your thoughts on bodily commodities, ID surrogacy, adoption, and organ donors. What are your thoughts on this? And if no thoughts, does this broaden the debate? I think, D, I would need more information about the context in which you're asking, because just based on the super chat, I do not have an opinion on it just yet. So I think I would need more context there. And maybe we can have that chat in locals. Remember, guys, so just so for anyone new that's joined, and we're gonna get back to call-ins in just 1 second. If you want to join my locals community, I am offering a special promo code right now to celebrate the epic win of the Department of Education backing down in its fight against critical race theory. If you use the promo code WINNING, WINNING, you will get a free month in my locals community, kb.locals.com/support. After that free month, it's $5 a month, or you can choose to get 2 months off an annual package of $50 a year. And this is the very best way to support my work. And so might as well join now while you still can, while it's free, but you have to join this week in order to take advantage of the promo code. All right. Bryce, you're up. Hey, Bryce.
Had to unmute myself. What's going on, Carolyn? Great to see you outside the locals call.
Yeah, nice to see you too. Welcome.
Yeah. Matter of fact, you already took the thunder. I was going to plug your locals and tell these
you
folks.
can still plug locals. Do your best. Give me your best plug.
Folks, you guys need to join locals. I pay $5 a month, 2 phone calls a week with Carolyn and many other great thinkers. And as a matter of fact, the first time I got a chance to talk with Carolyn, and this is why when I saw the link, I was like, man, I want to talk to. I always enjoy talking to who Dave Rubin would always qualify as the world's biggest knitting Trump supporter.
No, most dangerous knitter. I'm the world's most dangerous knitter, according to Dave Rubin.
Yes, and I will tell you guys, I found out about Carolyn when I heard Dave Rubin sit down and have an interview with her, and I started listening, and I just became very involved. And I am someone personally who very much believes in being very selective with my money and giving to those who really deserve it. And I'm just going to tell you guys, Carolyn is deserving. All the work she's doing with Walk Away, with all these other things, I applaud her for it. And I really am telling you, she's fighting. And I would say join locals. She's got what do you got? What else you got out there on the locals? You got the knitting thing, I think you do.
Yeah, we do a stitch and bitch. We're doing the next one in a couple of weeks. We're doing or a craft and bitch. If you don't knit, you're misguided if you don't knit, but like you can come and do other crafts. We do book club. We're gonna do debate club. I'm gonna be launching special interest discussion groups. I'm gonna be doing more support groups around people dealing with this crap. So we're doing a lot in locals. Got a lot going on.
So I'm gonna tell you, the amount of money you're going to spend for what you're getting out of it is really well. And this is a lady who does a lot. Matter of fact, Carolyn, I was going to tell you, I have left Alabama. I am in the great state of Ohio in Eastern Standard Time now.
All right. How's that treating you?
It is good, and family will be here soon. But with that said, I have kind of given some thought going back to our conversation. Because I think me and you, I remember we were talking about the politicians, and we were kind of up in the air about the whole red wave. But we both agree. I get the vibe that me and you seem to like the same type of politician. Joe Collins III. We like those guys.
I love Joe Collins. Joe Collins is such a good dude. Yeah.
I love the JC3. See, that's the thing. We need more people who have style. But I started thinking, I've been a Republican for so long, and I'm really getting kind of sick of the Republican Party. I just don't like the way they are. So I'm thinking about when I go to put my registration in here in the next couple of weeks of actually saying, I think it's time to go back to the Libertarian Party.
Yeah, Mises Caucus, Mises
Yes.
Caucus, yes.
Yes. And I will also highlight to folks out there that this is more, a couple of things. Critical race theory. I know we're so a couple of things, folks. Just my thoughts. I'm sure Carolyn, you would agree with me on this. It's a marathon and not a sprint. When I heard you earlier, we have to realize that this is a fight that is about the long game. We're not going to win this overnight. This isn't about instantaneous gratification. Matter of fact, that is one of the biggest problems I have with policy today. Everybody wants things instantaneous, instant. No, it's not instant. You have to realize that it takes work. And that's why when I started looking at the Mises Caucus, and I'm very appreciative of where they stand on their platforms and other things. But you have to realize that if our Constitution doesn't have something in there, our Constitution was designed to focus on fixing life for folks. It's not there to provide education. It's not there supposed to be taking tax dollars, redistribute. It's not supposed to be going for all of these big social things. It's supposed to be going there to take care of people and provide the adequate and appropriate protections. And we need to really focus in on that. The other thing I will say, last point I promise I'm making, it's about culture, guys. And this is, Andrew Breitbart said it best. Politics is downstream from culture. And yeah, I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's just my 2 cents.
I 100% agree with you. And that's why I really love what Jody Shaw from Smith College is doing. And she's really going to be focusing on how do we infuse more art into the culture that is coming from the perspective that we want to kind of counterbalance things that the left is doing. I think it's incredibly important. You're 100% right. If guys, if you haven't read Andrew Breitbart's book, now is a good time. And how I've approached the fight against critical race theory is honestly very inspired by Andrew Breitbart and demonstrating the correct amount of righteous indignation for this entire affair, because I see so many people that are trying to be polite about it, and frankly I think it deserves righteous indignation. But I also think that I agree with you, Bryce, in that we need to be figuring out ways to infuse more art into what we're doing as well.
And I will tell you, Carolyn, somebody I was actually in the local, and that's the other thing I love about the locals community is you can be who you are.
Yeah.
Out there, when we chat, people aren't, the trolls don't come out. They really don't. People want to have a great, open, honest dialogue. It doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you come from. If you come in and you talk about and you disagree or you agree, folks are, just tell folks why, and I'll tell you what. It is amazing how much you will sit there and you will find folks. You'll find common ground. And when I listen to all these guys talk about Christianity and the Christians, the segment of the Christian group that I really have a problem with is the totalitarian, hardcore totalitarian. A lot of your fundamentalists, and
Yes.
I like to refer to them as the immoral majority.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree. They're no better than the left. It's like horseshoe theory in action. They are exactly the same. And authoritarianism isn't good on the right. It's not good on the left. Like, just let people live their lives. Focus on your own life.
Correct. And Carolyn, as always, thank you again. And hopefully I'll see you this week in Zoom call or in our local call. I will try to be there. Again, you are doing everything. And I really applaud you for allowing me the opportunity to come spend some time with you today. So thank you.
Well, thank you for that, Bryce. Good to see you, and we'll talk soon. All right.
All right. Sounds good, Carolyn.
All right. Thank you. All right. Now I think we've lost Chris in the in the call-in line. So Chris, I'm sorry we didn't get to chat today, but I hope you will call in on a future show. And guys, just so you know, join Locals right now. Use the promo code WINNING, kb.locals.com/support, and you use the promo code WINNING, and you will get access to all of that awesome stuff, including our 2 Zoom calls a week, book club, debate club, all the different things. I have to announce book club in the community. We're going to be reading The Fountainhead next for book club, because I'm sure as heck not reading Atlas Shrugged again. That's too long of a book for book club, but we will be reading Fountainhead. That is going to be our next book club book, which we actually decided as a community in our community Zoom call. So I had input on that one. All right. Last 3 call-ins for today. We have Dragonwater, Tony, and then Brittany. Dragonwater, you're up.
Hey, hi, Colin. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
All right. Are you going to do your book in your book club?
Well, my book doesn't come out till next year. I don't know. It feels a little bit, doesn't it feel a little bit like, I wouldn't want anyone to accuse me of being a narcissist, Dragonwater, to do my own book in book club. But if you guys want to talk about it, I'm sure we can arrange something.
Yeah, but so one thing I'll say is with the cameras in classrooms, it doesn't really solve the biggest problem schools have. While critical race theory is a problem, the bigger problem is school is no longer, if it ever did, teaching kids to actually critically think.
Yes. I agree with you on that. I do think that it could contribute in a secondary way to solving it, because I think when teachers know they're being watched, they're going to do a little bit better job of actually doing their jobs. But you're right in that I don't think it would directly attack the problem.
Well, one of the big problems is school wasn't set up for that. It was set up to teach people how to have a job.
Right. Well, but maybe that's another, and that's honestly maybe why homeschooling and school choice are really the way that we need to go. I think school choice could be a game changer. If people have the ability to send their kids to the best school for them, no matter what, of course schools are going to pop up that are going to be doing better teaching than they have been.
That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, secondly, what was I going to... How do you fix the memory?
I don't know the answer to that. If you figure out the answer to that one, I can, you let me know.
I did have one big question for everyone watching, and yourself included.
Mm-hmm.
What can everyone do in their life that is not an act of resistance to the thing they do not like to address the problem?
I think, this is such a great question. So what can everyone do that is not an act of resistance? And I think that it's really important that you framed the question this way, because it's like what resists persists. Right? Anytime we're resisting something, we're making the problem bigger. I think for me, how I'm trying to, and there's actually a section in my book focused on this, as long as my editor doesn't take it out. But there is so what I'm thinking a lot about is what is the proactive vision that we want to create? What are we trying to move towards rather than what are we trying to move away from? And this is something that, I think a lot of people on the right, especially really fail at, because I don't know what they stand for. I don't know what their policy positions are. I know what some of their policy positions are, but I don't know what type of world they want to achieve. And I think what everyone can do, whether they are a politician or just an average everyday person, can think about what is the vision that I'm trying to achieve? What is the goal that I'm trying to move towards? And oftentimes we can use the things that we don't like to know what we would like. So if I know, this is an example I use all the time, if I know that I hate cold showers, that means of course I'm going to prefer hot showers. If I know that I hate critical race theory, that means I'm probably going to support more critical thinking being taught in schools, right? So we have to use what we don't like to think about the alternative that we would want instead, and then create a more clear vision of moving towards that alternative.
Makes sense.
I think so. It's hard to do, though. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, because this is something that people aren't taught. It is much easier for us to pick out things that we don't like because they cause us pain. And so our brain, the way our brain is wired, right? One of our primary things that we're trying to do at all times is to avoid pain. So it's much easier for us to pick out things that we don't like, those things that are going to cause us pain, so we can go over here and get around the things that are causing us pain, right? But we're not as often taught to think about what we do want and move towards that vision. And so it's it's like a habit. You just have to get used to it. But people can do this in their own. I used to tell people all the time, if you're looking for a new job, create a crystal clear vision of what you want that job to be. What types of tasks do you want? What do you want your title to be? What do you want your salary to be? What do you want your coworkers to be like? What do you want your office culture to be? If you don't have an idea of what you're looking for, you're much less likely to get it.
And walking away from what you don't want isn't the same as walking towards what you do want.
That is exactly correct. That's exactly correct. So this is something, I mean, maybe it's even easier for people to start it on a personal level. Like, and I'm not asking you to answer this question because we are live on the internet and you might not be comfortable doing that. But like, I wish people would think like, what do I want to achieve in my life? What do I want what is my number one goal? What is that thing that I want more than anything, that my life would be like amazing and it would just like be complete if I had that thing. And I just don't think a lot of people even allow themselves to think about what is the one thing they want more than anything.
First, I don't think we have enough time for me to answer that one. Because I know for a lot of people, myself included, getting to that, what do I actually want, is incredibly difficult because we're not taught what we want. We're taught to go towards what's good for our family, what's what's good for our community.
Yeah.
And we don't realize
go ahead.
Going for what we want is actually better for our community.
Yes.
Because we'll contribute better.
That's exactly right. And it's also about like it's about being really honest with yourself about what makes you happy, because sometimes the things that make us happy are not socially acceptable things. Right?
Yeah,
They're like
so true.
and it's about saying, you know what? Screw it. I don't care. I really like nerding out on this one thing. This is the thing that makes and sometimes too, I was going to say this is the thing that makes me feel happy. If you don't know what you want specifically yet, maybe a good place to start is by thinking about like, how do I want to feel? Do I want to feel happy? Do I want to feel overjoyed? Do I want to feel positive? Do I want to feel content? Actually, let me pull it. Hang on. We're going to do a little extra. Do you want to do a coaching exercise with me real quick?
Sure.
Super quick, because we still have Tony and Brittany in the queue, but I want to pull up like an emotion wheel. Okay, here we go. I'm going to bring this up. So this is like an emotion wheel, and sometimes it can be difficult to identify like what we want to feel because we're not taught to speak in these terms. But if you can look at emotion wheel and say, okay, today I want to feel happy, I want to feel optimistic, I want to feel proud, I want to feel successful. Like we're taught that we shouldn't want to feel we're successful, right? I want to feel confident, I want to feel respected, I want to feel valued, I want to feel courageous. Like there's nothing wrong with obviously we want to stay away from the red emotions. Those are the bad ones. But like if you can look at the positive emotions and say, okay, what would need to happen for me to feel like, confident today, or inquisitive, or joyful, or free. Sometimes if we can start with the emotion and commit to that emotion and say, no matter what happens today, I'm going to feel cheeky or aroused or inquisitive, I mean, that can lead us in the direction that we want to go. Does that make sense?
I would disagree that the red emotions are bad. They all have their purpose.
They do all have their purpose, but I
we're
think
taught we're taught so much in the world to suppress those, and that really messes a lot of people up.
You know what? You're 100% correct. And I do think that, if you feel angry, or you feel hostile, or you feel infuriated, or you feel frustrated, it is important to acknowledge that. And that way you can get through it. And there's nothing wrong with feeling those emotions. But, in terms of like creating what we want, we don't want to experience negative emotions when we're thinking about what we want to create in the world, because that's not going to be productive, right?
Yeah. Definitely not.
All right. Dragon Water, what emotion do you want to feel for the rest of the day?
I'll take happy, and I wish cool was an emotion.
Oh, well, maybe
it is too hot.
Oh, you want to feel cool as the weather. Well, I mean, maybe comfortable.
Yeah.
Comfortable
is good.
Comfortable is an emotion. All right. So yeah, I mean, just like commit to those emotions. Tell yourself right now, I'm going to feel happy and comfortable for the rest of the day, no matter what happens. Think about a time, if you're having a struggle with it, shut your eyes, think about a time when you felt happy and comfortable, because you can sometimes play tricks on your brain to say, I might not be experiencing this right now, but I can remember a time when I did. And your brain doesn't know the difference between you reliving that emotion in your head and what you're experiencing right now. So it can like shift things around and get you in a better place.
Yeah. Here's to hoping we have nothing remotely controversial this week.
We will.
Not that I can say it.
We will. I just confirmed with Joshua. We are back on for nothing remotely controversial. Joshua and I had a little hiccup in which we got into a fight. And now we're back on. We're friends again. We have both apologized to each other. So
Best of luck with that.
I maintain that it was mostly his fault. He maintains it was mostly my fault. So we'll have to agree to disagree. But we will
Just
have
make sure you get to the root of the problem.
yes, we will have nothing remotely controversial back in good time tomorrow night at 9:30.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Dragon Water. Have a good one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, this is going swimmingly. I hope you guys, thank you for allowing me to do that little coaching exercise. I hope you guys, and guys, anytime you want to do that exercise, like just Google emotion wheel, it'll come right up, and you guys can all do the same thing that Dragon Water and I just walked through. All right. We've got Tony, and then we've got Brittany. Tony.
Hello.
Hello. I can. What's
Good.
up?
Well, I'm sorry to be a downer today, but well, my grandfather finally passed today.
I'm so sorry, Tony.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. He's had Alzheimer's for 3 to 4 years, and actually he's lasted way longer than anyone expected. And I was thinking about that. Basically, my dad's been over there for the last few days, just essentially waiting for him to die, because he is they do have a do not resuscitate order for him. He had but we were talking about moral majority in your previous video. I don't know if you posted that today or yesterday. I saw it today.
Today.
Oh, okay. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit, and I know there's a lot of disagreement about it, but it's really important to me, particularly now, to talk about the issue concerning end of life decision making for family members. And I don't know, a lot of people maybe have experienced this, but also a lot of people haven't. Essentially, when you have Alzheimer's, your brain eventually, so when you swallow, because you have a esophagus and you also have your windpipe. So there's basically an action that occurs that your brain takes care of this. You don't do it consciously, but to prevent any saliva from aspirating essentially into your lungs, when you have Alzheimer's, you lose the ability to do that. So a lot of people who have Alzheimer's end up aspirating and dying from complications associated with that. Mm-hmm. That happened a couple times to my grandfather. Eventually, that's not ultimately what took him out. He was eating on his own, but eventually he stopped. He was unable to eat anymore, or drink anymore. So he essentially dehydrated to death over the course of 3 days. And I know it's really uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfortable topic, but I think that we put a lot of people through torture, not just the individuals involved, but their families, because we just don't have the balls in this country to talk about this problem in an honest way. And every time we do, we kind of let the moral majority kind of roll everyone over with their religious beliefs, which, look, I respect your religious beliefs, but there are your beliefs, and I don't know why the hell they should affect my family, but that's how I see it. Yeah. And I have it's torturous to me to see him the way he is, and it's essentially, we have laws on the books that if I did my family is essentially forced by the law to do to my grandfather. If I did that to my dog, I'd be buried under the jail. Mm-hmm. We treat our animals better than we treat our grandparents, and I can't wrap my head around how we've ended up in this sort of position. It's not my fault. It's not my parents' fault. It's not. But we have, I think, a responsibility to do something about it, because it's just cruelty. I can't. It's a cruelty. It's an omission of moral action, like, mm-hmm. and assertiveness and courageousness. We have, and look, everyone's got problems. I got problems. Nobody wants to think about it. It's horrific. And of course, when it happens, it's the worst. Nobody wants to talk about it when it's happening, because everybody's grieving, which is understandable. And but I grieved for my grandfather years ago, when he lost the ability to essentially speak or recognize people or basically be a human. And he's got a human body, and he has human functions, but the brain is not there. And when the brain's gone, I think you are your brain, and when that's gone, there's essentially nothing left. That's my belief.
I agree with you completely. I know my grandmother at the end of her life had dementia, and I think that her nursing home was also putting her on a lot of medication that was not helping the problem at all. And I remember one of the last times I saw her alive, I was so disturbed at what I saw. I ended up like screaming at my parents, like, how could you allow this to happen? Because she was gone. She was not there at all. And it was incredibly painful to watch that deterioration. And I agree with you. I think how we treat the elderly, especially at the end of life, is awful. I don't know about you, and I know this might be an unpopular opinion, especially for Sarah in the chat. But like, I absolutely believe in like right to die initiatives. I think that people should be able to make the choice when they're still lucid about, like what, like, are they like, if they have something terminal, like making the choice to end it on their terms. I think that like, the do not, like, one of the first things that Victor and I did when we got married is we, signed orders, around, resuscitation, and also like giving each other like power of attorney if something like goes wrong, so that those decisions can be made, and making it very clear what our wishes are and how we want to be treated if something happens. Because that to me is like my definition of a nightmare, is to wind up in a place where like I am not capable of, and like of being allowed to be being allowed to go, because medical technology can keep me alive even though I'm not really here.
Yeah, the do not resuscitate is a good. It's better than nothing, but
Yeah.
even with that, I mean, I thought it was so strange because they were able to give him morphine, fortunately, not enough to kill him, but essentially enough to knock him out, which I can't understand what the hell the difference is at that point.
Exactly.
But they couldn't give him water. So do not do not resuscitate means that they can't bring you back, but they also can't put you out of your misery. And that, I mean, like I said, they essentially let you die as slowly as possible and hopefully take away some of your pain. But oh, by the way, his entire family has to witness that. And what is the measure of the cost? What is the cost associated with that? And I don't know what the answer is. I am neither wise enough or intelligent enough to know the answer for everyone, right? But I think that the conversation needs to be going on, that we should, and that it could be better than it is. There's no possible way that this is the right way to do this, or that it can't be done in a better way. I have a hard time believing that. And whether that just means individuals should have the right to make the decisions for themselves, their families should have that right. I know there's problems associated with that. Corruption is always an issue that you need to be aware of. But I just needed to get that off my chest because I don't know where to take. I'm sad, but I'm mostly angry because, like I said, I've kind of grieved his death already. But I can't stand that this is where we are. I just couldn't imagine, and also that it's the state that essentially forces us to do that. It forces you into a position of you can't act without running the risk of incurring a considerable amount of jail time for doing the humane thing, and that seems so backwards to me. So anyway, I'm sorry to bring everybody down on a Monday, but
No.
it's just what I've been kind of dealing with over the weekend.
Well, it's totally fine, Tony, and we're so sorry for your loss. And I'm sure your grandfather is in a much better place now, and I'm sure he's, looking down on you and is very proud of you. I'll say, like, I don't know how spiritual you are, but I feel my grandfather with me all the time. I know my grandfather always has my back, and he's not in any pain anymore, wherever he is.
He's not. That's true for certain, and I appreciate the kind words, and I just hope that my family, I couldn't, I mean, I went a few months ago to help feed him with my father. Mostly I went for my father's sake. But for the last 3 days, I couldn't bring myself to go see him because I don't think I would have done any good. there. He was essentially in a induced coma, and I don't know what to say. Other, because I only have negative thoughts when I'm there. There's nothing that I'm witnessing that is a celebration of anything. It's just misery compounded and multiplied, and unnecessarily. And I can't tell my family. I don't want to tell any of them that right now is not the appropriate time to have that conversation. So, but anyway, I'm gonna head out and try to get to the gym and work some of this out.
Yes, go work it out at the gym, Tony. And we love you and looking forward to seeing you in locals this week, I'm sure.
I'll be there tomorrow.
All right. Have a good day, my friend.
You too.
Take care. Bye. All right, guys. We have one more. Justiana, thank you for the super sticker. Really appreciate it. Mana Lola, I went through this with my mother. The exact same thing. Had to choose between a feeding tube in her stomach or stop giving her food and water. Yeah, man, it is crazy. It is crazy. Oh, Dragon Water wants me to plug Unscrewed. Guys, I do have a new podcast that I'm going to be doing with Truman, Return to Reason. The first episode is launched on my YouTube channel. It's also going to be in all major podcast platforms. It's definitely up in Apple. I haven't checked the other ones yet. But it's called Unscrewed. It's basically Truman and I talking, having a normal human conversation. So you can listen to the first episode today. I'll be dropping the second episode probably tomorrow. We just recorded it last night. The first one we recorded a couple weeks ago, and I was kind of I was waiting to make sure we would actually do an episode 2 before I uploaded it to the channel. But we have gotten around that. So definitely check out Unscrewed on the channel today with me and Truman. And right now we're going to go to our last guest for today. And of course, I've gone more than the half hour I said I was going to go, but isn't that always the way? Brittany, welcome to the channel.
Hi.
Hi.
I talked to you the last time. I think you did Collins.
Oh, good. Welcome back.
Well, I have a little more information on some of the things we were talking about last time. So I have a question kind of for you on some like wording as far as like what schools are using to get around this whole we're not doing critical race, because we just got our parent letter. Sorry if you can hear my dogs upstairs.
That's okay.
I have 5. So sounds like a stampede sometimes. So as far as our school, they have an equity committee now.
They're doing critical race theory.
Yeah, that's what well, according to their parent letter they sent out, they have never implemented critical race theory.
Are you in that school in Massachusetts?
Absolutely not. I'm in Illinois.
And the reason I asked that is that I just, on my second YouTube channel, Actively Unwoke, I just uploaded a school board meeting where the parents basically revolted, where they were having literally exactly the same discussion, where the school was like, we're not doing critical race theory. We have an equity committee. And I'm like, bullshit.
Well, and I watch you enough that I know the trigger words for it now, as far as the critical race theory stuff. But they have an equity committee, and at the bottom, they do put their disclaimer, we're not teaching critical race. And I'm like, bullshit. Okay, so you're basically just using the application of it then and the theories. Yeah, you're applying the theories to it. So
go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just kind of confused as far as like, what do they call it? I'm sorry, I have it pulled up for you. And it is, they want an equitable environment, and they are looking for economic disparities with students. Now, I'm going to explain something. I'm out in the middle of a cornfield, and it's a small school. It's nothing like some of these bigger Chicago schools. It's a smaller school around the area. So, and it's not because they're not welcome, but there are not very many people of color in this school because there's a lot of farming kids. So I'm just kind of confused because, we don't make a whole lot of money here in the state. So we do qualify for some of the programs for the state, like insurance, because it's outrageous to get insurance here for some reason. But so I'm not really like, this is got me so heated.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Brittany? Brittany, if you can hear me, I can't hear you. If you can hear me, I can't hear you any longer.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back. Okay, thank God.
Okay, probably because I switched over to the parent thing to get the words for you. But I mean, there's not a lot of, we're a farming community, basically a farming school.
Right.
So, I mean, there's not a ton of people of color here. So basically they're talking about lower income, maybe? I'm not really sure what they're
Well,
getting at with that.
no, they're not. They're not. Let me explain to you how they are absolutely teaching critical race theory if they're talking about anything equity related. So the whole idea of critical race theory is it's about identifying things that create systemic disparities in the system, right? Identifying laws or policies or anything that is going to lead to a disparity between what white people achieve and what black people achieve when you're looking at them at scale, when you're looking at them as like identity groups, right? And if white people are achieving more, like in terms of like income or what have you, then they're going to use techniques derived from critical race theory to explain why that's happening. Okay. Now, when it
Okay.
comes to equity, the whole reason that they are using the term equity instead of equality is because like equality it means equality of opportunity. Equity means equality of outcome. When they are teaching equity, the whole goal is to eliminate disparities so that everyone has the same outcome. And so the goal of critical race theory and the goal of equity is exactly the same. They are one and the same. You cannot separate them. And in fact, equity is a word to used in this capacity only started about 2015 or so. People have not been using the word equity in the way that we are using it until less than 10 years ago. All right. Usually it was like a stock market thing, right? Or something to do with like equity in your house. They're not using it in that way. And so any time that you hear people talking about equity, they're shooting for equality of outcomes. Anytime you hear people talk about critical race theory, they are shooting for equality of outcomes. It is exactly the same goal. They're calling it different things because they play with language in order to confuse everyone. So they're absolutely teaching critical race theory. They're absolutely teaching the same principles because if they weren't, there wouldn't be a focus on equity. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. And then, because Illinois just passed that House bill.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the exact bill. Hang on one second. Darn it. Okay. They passed the House bill here recently, and it's a 218-page bill. And they're also
good.
Yeah.
Well, people definitely read it then.
It's a lot of word salad, I will say that, because I attempted to read through it, and my brain was fried about probably 20 pages into it. But I do like they're going to focus on more their inclusive social studies. And one of the main things our inclusive social studies is going to focus on is the LGBTQ community.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to sound like I don't support them, because I do. I have a lot of friends. I actually had my best friend in high school. He was gay, and he sadly passed away 3 years ago from stomach cancer. So it's not that I'm not supportive of it, but I don't think that's the place to put it if you want to talk about it. So in social studies, because I don't think that is where basically your sexuality should come into play of the great things you've done. You didn't do it because of that. You did it because of who you are, what your abilities are. So I don't know if that's the right place to put it, because I'm one of the louder parents at the school. So, I mean, I was the one that went in there and said, if you don't get the bullying under control, I'm going to basically volunteer and sit in on every class, and I'll volunteer with the PE teacher and make sure everybody's not putting their hands on each other.
I mean,
that kind of parent.
So I might disagree with you there, and the reason is that I think, and you have to be really specific with them about what are they teaching, how are they teaching it. Are we talking about a module? Are we talking about a week? Are we talking like what do they mean when they say they're integrating that? Because it could be as simple as, let's teach them about how LGBT people mobilize to to make gay marriage legal in this country. I mean, that was a social movement that took a lot of years to go from people absolutely hating LGBT people on site for them getting beat up all the time to where we are now, where it's mostly accepted and they have all the access to all of the same rights as non, gay people. Like, I think that is a perfectly acceptable thing to teach. I just want to make sure it's not about like, is it that they're encouraging people to be trans to get special privileges, or is it that they're just teaching the history of what this movement is and what it meant and how it impacted a lot of people? I think that they could be a legitimate conversation to have.
Well, it says the conversation will expand to include how perspectives of LGBTQ individuals influence their work, society, and then they give us a link for it so we can go check it out. But
yeah, that doesn't really mean anything.
When I click the link, it doesn't open. So that's probably not a good thing if it's not opening. But to me, like, that should be like another option, because the school that we go to doesn't have a lot of classes, especially for upper high school. So they send their kids to college very, very young, like probably junior, seniors, which doesn't help anything because it's Illinois and the colleges are all woke and teaching the critical race theory. It's really bad. My aunt was a teacher and she went in and she was fine. And then next thing I know, she's yelling at me because, she's oppressing people. It's just like, how? I don't get it. But anyways, so the colleges here are like that. They've been doing that probably for a good 5 years or so. And so they send our kids there really young. So to me, that would be one of those like, hey, let's make like an extracurricular class out of these for students that don't have a class that would be interested in this. But as far as going to the school board meeting, I'm just not really sure how to approach them. And that I'm not against like the LGBTQ community. I just think that should be probably for the older classmen, because, throwing like what you said in there was great, but like to get a deeper dive into it, if they want to do that, that should be a whole class separate. And I think that would be great.
Well, yeah, and I think you need to I think that you're not going to be better. You're not going to be served by going to the school board and articulating it like you just did. And I'm saying this to be honest. I'm saying this with love. Like what was just you need more information about what they're actually teaching. You need more
information. That's the thing. Like, I went to the principal and I asked him when this bill was passed, like, what does this mean? Does it mean you're going to, because originally there was a little flyer put on Facebook that was from the State Board of Education, and it said, like, they'll be including like field trips to like basically go be an activist somewhere. It's like, how are you going to do that to like small kids, like younger kids, middle school kids, to teach them to go be an activist for something they may or may not believe?
Hang on. Did it actually say go be an activist somewhere? Like, where is the field trip specific? Like, but
no, it just said that they're going to be implementing it in the state of Illinois.
But where is the field trip and what is it for?
It did not say. It was very vague.
But here is the thing. Here is the thing. It's like you need more information about this, because it's one of those things where people need to fight this smart. And it's like, if you're saying that, if you're going to the school board and saying, you guys are going to take my kids on field trips to become activists, and the first question they ask is, well, how is a field trip making them an activist? And you go, I don't know. I don't even know where they're going. That's not gonna bode well. Right.
Well, and so see, in Illinois, you can sign a like a year permission slip type thing, that as long as it's approved through the school district, they can take the kids and go.
Yeah, but you can call the school and say, I'm not signing the permission slip if you don't tell me where they're going.
Right. So it's just like one of those things, like, I think, and like, I didn't even get anything about, we apparently had a new school board seats elected. We didn't get anything. Nobody knew anything about this. So they just did it in the dead of night, which Illinois loves to do. So that's what I'm saying. I went to the principal and I asked, I'm like, what is this? Like, what are these field trips? What is this going to be teaching? With this bill, is this like affect us any? He's like, honestly, I don't know either. And I'm like, well, great. So who knows about this? And he's just like, I don't know. We don't have any information right now. And I'm just like, but we're going to start school here soon. And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like,
well, okay, so here's the good news. If the principal of your school doesn't know what's going on, legitimately doesn't know, that means it's probably not going to impact anything.
Okay, because it's just one of those things, like, does he really not know, or is he just not telling me the truth? Because honestly, like with my kids and like kids in general, like I said the last time, like those are my biggest concerns with the kids here. Like, is it he doesn't know and doesn't, honestly know, or is it he knows and he just doesn't want me to flip out and be like, absolutely not?
It could
like, we
be
need to have a serious discussion about this first.
It could be either way, but my recommendation is that you need to find out more information and you need to get really specific about what is going on before there's any flipping out over anything. I think that, sometimes, and I understand people are passionate about this issue, and I obviously can hear that you're very passionate about this issue, but sometimes passion can be a good thing, and sometimes passion can actually impair you from getting the result you want. And you don't want to, get so excited about what could be potentially happening when you don't have information to back it up. You want to be able to go into that school board meeting and say, I know exactly what they're doing. Here's what they're doing. Here's the evidence of what they're doing. Now, what are you going to do about it? That's the position you want to be in. So my recommendation right now is you don't really from what you've told me now, I don't now I'm not saying nothing's happening, but there's nothing to freak out about right this second. You have time. And so use the time wisely to really try to suss out specifically what is going on. Now, you're in Illinois, and Illinois does require critical race theory as part of their teacher licensure. That was an update that was made several months ago. So do I think it's probably happening? Yep. But you need to really make sure you got your ducks in a row. And then once you get your ducks in a row, then you're going to be in a much better position to go in and fight and to get it taken care of. And of course, when you fight, when you have all your ducks in a row, get it on video and put it on the internet so that everyone else can see. All right? Oh, we lost Brittany's sound again.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
I had to check the word again of what they were using for the last thing on their little parent update. It's comprehensive sex education.
Well, I mean, again,
what is that? It's like a national thing that's being passed or going to be signed.
I do not know off the top of my head, so we'll need to get more information about that. But again, just because they're teaching sex ed doesn't mean they're actually teaching anything that's gonna really be harmful long term. And so we need to make sure we really understand what that means before we go in with all guns blazing.
Right. And I was really just more concerned about the critical race theory part, the first part of our discussion, because that cleared up a lot. And to have you say, yeah, it's probably critical race theory they're teaching, that makes me feel a little better to go.
Yeah, if they have an equity committee, they're definitely doing it. But now it's on you to kind of hunt down what are they doing specifically. And what does that mean? What does it mean that they have an equity committee? What does the equity committee want to do? What is the charge of the a question you can ask is, what is the charge of the equity committee? Why is there a committee? Do you guys have a list of rules, a list of goals that you're trying to achieve? What is the point?
Okay.
Maybe that's the best place to start.
Yeah, that would be.
Remember, your taxes are paying for that equity committee, so you have a right to ask questions.
Right. Okay. Well, that's all I wanted to ask today. I will let you go so you can go do your work.
Excellent. Thank you, Brittany, for joining for Collins. I hope to see you again soon.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, that's all we have for the stream today. Per usual, that went about half an hour longer than I wanted it to, but that's all right. We had some great call-ins. I hope you guys had fun hanging out. Just as one final plug, remember that the best way to support my work is to join my locals community, and I am running a special for this week only, where if you go to kb.locals.com/support and you use the promo code WINNING, you will win a free month in my locals community, so you get access to our Zoom calls and our book club and our Stitch and Bitch, and you can comment on everything and to check it out to see how awesome locals is. And of course, you can always upgrade to an annual membership. Even if you're a current locals monthly supporter, you can upgrade to an annual membership and you get 2 months free when you do it. And so kb.locals.com/support, it really helps the work I do. All right, guys, thank you for spending some time with me today for this breaking news impromptu live stream. I'm going to go write the rest of my book now, so I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.